And we're live. Welcome back to another episode of Time TV. Today we're talking with Mike from Robonet, and we want to find out why his vaults are just performing so well. What are you doing that's better than human traders right now? Welcome, Mike.
Well, the pleasure to meet you, Dan. Really happy to be on with you, and thanks for everybody listening. Hopefully, we have an engaging discussion today where people can learn a lot of stuff, especially what's being built over at Robonet. But I guess to answer your question, uh, we're not using any humans. This is all being traded through AI, through logic created through Robonet. So human designed this with the help of AI, but an AI is doing all the trading, or to better, really explain that the AI designed the code, and then the code has parameters that it's now using to trade. It's not actually an AI where an AI is looking at every single thing pretty much and can hallucinate, but it's using code with AI, with time series forecasts and predictions into the future that are using AI to then rebalance this strategy that has been live for close to 140 days and has been performing extremely well. So happy to chat about it.
Yeah, would love to just start diving into this. So, what makes a AI trader better than a human? Like, what are these parameters you're setting?
Um, well, humans can be as good as humans can be. AI can be as good as the person that codes it up. AI is a great starting point. It's great for evaluation. It's great for finding very small patterns in trends and in data sets. However, it's not a one-stop shop. You can still use AI to create a strategy that's not going to perform well. You need to use all the tools at your disposal to create a strategy that has proper risk management. But AI is a very powerful tool, and that's what we use to create this strategy that is live right now on Paradex. I can go ahead and share my screen and just show everybody that's watching the performance of this strategy. And yeah, it's been live. I said 140. It's actually been live for 129 days right now. You can see the performance. It's only had close to like a 7% drawdown at its max, but it's been up and to the right so far over 3 months. That's usually the industry benchmark of can you hold a level of performance for over 3 months. So we crossed that quite some time ago, and it's still performing extremely well.
Mhm.
And the way that this strategy operates is it trades a basket of Bitcoin, ETH, and Solana, and it uses predictive inferences from the Allura network. So the Allura network, it basically does time series forecasts through a decentralized ensemble. So you have all these different machine learning models that are predicting the future price of Bitcoin, ETH, Solana, and then you have a separate set of actors called these forecasters, and the forecasters then have contextual awareness of what the current market conditions are, as well as the history of which models in that topic perform the best under similar market conditions in the past. And just by the nature of models themselves, some models are performed best in highly volatile markets, some in sideways markets, some in low volume, some in high volume, etc. So those forecasters, all right, which models perform the best under which market conditions? What are the current market conditions now? And then they use that to run a loss function against all the inferences that they receive during that round to then predict which of those predictions is going to be the most accurate based on their historical accuracy under similar market conditions in the past. And there's been a lot of academic research coming out the past few years. You've had UC Berkeley, Stanford, Carnegie Mellon, all published academic papers stating that the future of AI is likely to be these more narrowly defined models that are used in combination with each other to produce a single result. And that's what we see over here at Allura in our own research and testing, where the output of the network consistently outperforms any of the individual models within it. So you have these really powerful predictions of price and log returns for an asset into the future. And then that's what this strategy uses, where it'll take an 8-hour prediction for each of these three assets from the Allura network, and then it will use that to adjust this basket of assets that it holds. So it holds Bitcoin, it holds ETH, it holds Sol, and then it'll use this prediction for, okay, what's the price forecasted to be 8 hours into the future. And then based on that future forecasted price, it will then rebalance that basket of its holdings. It will also look at the recent volatility of the asset to see how much volatility there is to adjust the position sizing. But it's a pretty sophisticated strategy. And like I said, been live for 130 days right now. And it's, I think, if you annualize the past 1 month return, even with the past couple of days haven't been so hot, it's close to 70%. I think last week before this most recent drawdown, it was like close to like 120% annualized APR over the last month. So it's been performing really well, and exciting to share it. And this is something that you can build with Robonet today, and using AI to not only just build your strategy in a no-code environment. So back when I got into crypto in 2017, people were doing algorithmic trading on Binance, these other exchanges, and I would look at these people like they were gods. I'm like, man, if only I knew how to code, I could be so much better at trading. But I'm never going to learn how to code, unfortunately. You can't teach this old dog a new trick like that. But now with Robonet AI, you can create autonomous trading strategies that are going to be self-executing. And then you can also enhance them with something like Allura, where you're not just using lagging indicators, which are pretty much like most technical indicators. You can now use future time series forecasts to better predict what's going to happen in the future, and not just go off what happened in the past. So hopefully it gives a little bit additional context.
Yeah, we can't use any of that as a clip. That's way too long. So, a very sophisticated strategy, a very sophisticated response. Let's break things down just so the person who isn't as involved in this just has a fundamental understanding of what's going on. I was keeping up, but I also like to think of someone who's just dropping in, trying to figure out what's happening. There's a lot of things that people might not be familiar with. So let's try to
All right.
simplify this into shorter, clippable moments. Like, what is Allura doing essentially with the vaults on Paradex?
So what Allura is doing with their volatile and Paradex
Or
is
Robonet?
we're
I'm sorry.
using
What?
predictive.
Let me set up that distinction of Allura and Robonet. What do people need to know about that distinction?
Yeah, Robonet is the tool being used to create these autonomous strategies in a no-code environment using natural language, like if you're talking to Claude or ChatGPT. Allura is a machine learning network that can do predictive inferences for supervised machine learning problems. So if you're looking for forecasts for Bitcoin, ETH, Sol, future price, future volatility, you would use Allura for that.
Oh, excellent. All right. So now that we have that distinction, what's going on with these vaults?
So these vaults have been live on Paradex for 130 days. They've been performing very well. They use Allura signals to rebalance a basket of Bitcoin, ETH, and Sol every 8 hours. So we'll look at what's the future price of Bitcoin, ETH, and Sol going to be 8 hours from now, and then based on that and the recent volatility, it will adjust the position size to then either long or short that asset.
Very well said. So I'm sure setting up these strategies and fine tuning them takes a lot of work. So what has worked and what has failed when coming up with these different strategies for vaults?
Yeah, it definitely takes a lot of time to figure out something that is going to work well. A lot of trial and error, but with Robonet's backtesting suite, you're able to really refine strategies, backtest them over multiple different time periods, and even use AI to optimize those strategies. So what used to take quant teams weeks or quarters, you can now do that in just a few hours.
Yeah, amazing. So, like, I think people just need a little more, I guess, a little more like what are these quant teams doing and how does that improve their trading?
Yeah, so typically right now teams are hiring a quant for somewhere between $500,000 to $800,000 a year. and the bandwidth that they have, they may be only working on one or two strategies at a time. They really need to baby them. What the Robonet gives you is the ability for anyone to really be their own quant and not have to have any sort of coding skill involved. And then that really opens the door for you don't need a PhD in computer science or mathematics or quantitative trading. You just need to be someone with an idea. And even if you are somebody that has a PhD in mathematics or quantitative trading, this is a tool that now you can really open up your bandwidth and allow you to do a lot more, cover more ground instead of really only focusing on one or two strategies at a time. You can be deploying dozens of different strategies because something that might have taken you weeks or quarters, this is now something that can only take you hours or even minutes.
Amazing. So it sounds like you can really quant on Robonet. Had
Absolutely.
I had to do that one. All right. So I'm sure you've had strategies that have worked and failed, and you guys are trying multiple strategies. What's going on in this market, and what kind of strategies are working?
Yeah, right now I think we're on a little bit of a depressed market.
Mhm.
The indicators that I really like to use are simple moving averages. So I actually published an article on X about a month ago that looks at the 200-day and 50-day SMA, and it'll look for divergences between those two. And here I'll show my screen really quickly so everybody can just follow along. So this would be the 50-day and 200-day SMA for the price of ETH. This is where we're at currently, all the way on the right-hand side of the chart. And if you're looking at this peak, that would be the peak of the 2020 bear market. But you can see, all right, this would have been a good time to buy. This would have been a good time to sell. There on and there on. And whenever there's a good opportunity to buy, you see the 50-day SMA well below the 200-day. And whenever there's a good time to sell, you see the 50-day SMA well above the 200-day SMA. So right now we're in a spot where it's well below, and you're actually seeing the amplitude shift back up. So if everybody crosses their fingers, maybe the crypto gods will be nice to us and we start to see a return back to the bull market. At least that's what the indicators starting to show over the past, say, 2 weeks. But now would be a good time to buy for a quantitative strategy. And then if you're looking a year, 2 years into the future, you'll see a period where it's like this, where you're having the 50-day above the 200-day, which historically would be a good time to sell. But this is something that you can describe with natural language into a tool like Robonet. And then you have an automated trading system that you can set it and forget it. It will look for these conditions to be met for whatever time period that you want, how often you want it to trade, how big of an allocation and position sizing you want to make per trade. And then this is something that you don't need to monitor. AI never gets tired. It never needs to go to the bathroom. It never gets hungry. It's just always there executing and optimizing. So even if this is something that you could do yourself, why not just have an agent make your life easier and go outside and touch grass?
Yes, very well said. So, just for the people watching, like it's not too complicated to do all this because Robonet does have a vault on Paradex, and to get exposure to that, all you would have to do would be to deposit to that vault. Now, for the Paradex vault, I was kind of interested in like why the name is currently the name for the Robonet vault is like YYZ something, right?
Yeah, I believe it's the XYZLS PDEX. I forget the origin of XYZ. I think it was nomenclature that we were using internally for testing different sorts of strategies. We had an ABC section and an XYZ section. I think there might have been even an LMNOP
Mhm.
section that we were doing it. And then the LS, I want to say that was something for like limited spread, but it stands for something.
Yeah.
It's been 129 days since this went live.
Mhm.
So as we were researching this, you're probably closer to 200 days ago. I can't remember what I ate for breakfast yesterday.
Yeah.
So I remember it was like limited spread, something like that. And then PDEX, obviously Paradex, but yeah, that's where the name comes from. To be honest, I wish we could rename it to something a little bit catchier, but
I'll ask
hey,
the team.
we
Maybe we
deployed
can
it
just
and it's
rename it
doing
to
well.
Robonet so people can find it much easier.
Hey, if you could hook us up,
Mhm.
I love it. And if you have any interesting name you want to toss into the ring, let us know. Because yeah, we use the internal testing name for what we deployed.
Now, are you guys running multiple vaults, or is it just like this one, and it's like the best performing strategy?
So Robonet, right now, if you can go into Robonet, you can deploy your own vaults. I think we have close to 100 different vaults that have been deployed by users across various venues. Um, This is the only one that we have live right now. However, I don't know how much alpha I can share, but I'll share it anyways,
Share
and
it
I'll just get
anyway.
yelled
Yeah,
at and beg for
yeah.
forgiveness. So right now, as I mentioned, this strategy trades on 8-hour time horizons, and that's how it rebalances and looks at forecast for 8 hours into the future. We will be debuting a similar strategy to this, but instead of going off an 8-hour time horizon for rebalancing, it'll be going off a 24-hour time horizon for rebalancing. There's some interesting things that we've seen in terms of drawdown and performance that led us to want to pursue that route. So stay tuned. That's going to be something that's coming out in probably the pretty near future.
Okay, awesome. Now that also, by setting that 24-hour and 8-hour time frames, it's not making super impulsive decisions like human traders.
Correct, correct.
Now you're running these vaults, and I'm curious to know like why you chose Paradex.
Yeah, absolutely. So Paradex has a very robust vault infrastructure. You guys have been great partners. I believe it was Defin on our team that first reached out to you guys. It seems like many months ago. Crypto is like dog years, where every day is like a week, every week is like a month, etc. So we've been working with you guys for quite some time. We were really impressed with your community, the traction that you guys have been getting, the infrastructure that you guys have to support not just vaults, but on the trading side as well. And that was just a natural fit for us to deploy this sort of AI vault on top of your stack. So really glad that our paths crossed, and it's been a match made in heaven.
Awesome. Yeah, and you mentioned that there's like over 100 different strategies that people could deploy. So let's say I wanted to use some of Robonet's strategies and deploy my own Paradex vault. Could I do that?
Right now, we are working on that. We support Hyperliquid and Lighter. Paradex is to be coming in the near future, but the answer would be yes. So you have the ability to build your strategy, and then when you want to go actually deploy your strategy, you can do that either through an EOA or through a vault. So if you want to do it just through an EOA, you can do that. If you want to do it through a vault style, maybe you could charge an asset under management fee, a performance fee. You want to market it, have other people pile in, and then you're acting as the vault curator. You have the ability to do that as well.
Awesome. I think that's an amazing opportunity for a lot of uh, non-professional traders that just want to have these strategies but don't know how to execute it. Now, you mentioned EOA. What is that?
That's just trading through your wallet. So
Oh, okay.
if you don't want to have this vault that's public, that people can copy
Yeah,
trade and see its performance, you just want to keep this close to the vest,
yeah.
or deploy it just through an EOA, and your wallet will self
Let's
execute.
just say wallet, bro. Let's just say wallet. All good.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No. All good. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Okay, so what are some of the more popular strategies that people have been picking? Is there like any kind of metrics of like, oh, most people are picking this. This is how they're performing.
Um, I would say a lot of people are using it's more indicator based. So I'd say people don't get too much into the exotic indicators. They stick to the ones that are like the ones that you learn trading 101. So like SMA, EMA, Bollinger Bands, RSI, MACD. I would say 80% of the strategies that I've seen deployed on Robonet will use one or a basket of those. But there are some really interesting things that you can do when you get into these more exotic technical indicators, and then you can even pair them across multiple timelines. So I want to use a 1 hour RSI paired with a 1 day MACD. So I'd say a lot of the people really aren't actually pushing Robonet to the limit. Um, I've tested this almost more than anybody, and I've tried to break it in every single which way. And what's been really exciting for me is I will surprise myself a lot of time where I will ask it to do something where I'm like, all right, it's going to crash out, it's going to fail. There's no way it's actually gonna do this like crazy ask, and then bam, bam, bam. Okay, I did this for you. I made this custom time horizon. I'm using these indicators across multiple time frames. I'm implementing this regime filter, or like coming up with its own kind of like quasi technical indicator that I didn't even know you could do. So that's been really interesting to me of just how powerful this is. And I get blown away like almost every day where I think I'm going to try and break the tool and then it stumps me. I'm like, I'm out of ideas.
Yeah.
I thought this was going to fail, but it actually worked.
Could you share some of the things you've been doing?
Um, I have so many strategies. It would take me a while to hunt down
Hmm.
some of the more exotic ones, but yeah, I'd love to share something with you real quick. And this goes back to like a little bit earlier in the conversation where we were talking about looking at some SMA divergence. So I actually put that in here. I'll wait for the screen to load. But yeah, you would talk to it just like you talk to ChatGPT or Claude. So I wanted to create a strategy that trades ETH on 1 day time frames, and it uses 2% of its capital to buy ETH each day. That the 50% SMA is 30% below the 200-day, and then vice versa. Also, 2% of its ETH every day. The 50-day SMA is 30, in this case, 35% above the 200-day SMA. And then you can go ahead, back test it. You get a chart that will show you how it performed against buy and hold. So here would be the performance on this blue purple line. Here's the buy and hold in the yellow line. I actually then revised the strategy. So originally in my initial prompt, it was 2.1%. I refined this strategy to actually use 5%. And you can then see all these different metrics in terms of the buy and hold during this 4 year period of May 2022 to December 2025. May 2022, that was pretty much like the market crash. That was the Terra Luna collapse, FTX collapse, etc. So, all right, from there to the end of 2025, how would it perform? ETH, surprisingly, would have only had a 5% return.
Yeah.
The first version of this strategy would have had a little bit above a 300% return. But then when we bumped up to 5% and increased that position size, you actually got a 550% return. And so I've played around with this strategy probably 100 different ways by now, by increasing the size of the divergence needed, adding tiered position sizing. So depending on the size of the divergence between the two SMAs, it will increase that position size. And I've had, I believe, a couple of the strategies breach like 800, 850% return. That's probably the high score that I've been able to achieve. Actually, no, I've been able to do more with leverage. Without leverage, I've got it to be a little bit above 800. I've got it, I want to say, above 1200% if I start introducing leverage into the equation. But there's all sorts of cool, sexy, exotic stuff that you can do with Robonet. Really, the only limitation is your imagination. If you can think it up, you can type it out, and then I'd say there's a 99.5% chance the tool will actually go ahead, plug that into strategy code, and make it something that you can not only just backtest, but actually deploy on a live exchange and have it just execute for you from there on out.
Yeah, I like how you have that gamer style mindset. It's like I got a high score, but now this is just money. So that's a really good way to approach it. Now,
Yeah, it's the competitive edge in me. Always want to see like, hey, I saw 300%
Mhm.
return. Why can't I do better?
Right.
Always trying to min max everything. I was playing Diablo 2 as a young kid in
Mhm.
middle school, and it's stuck with me ever since.
Now, while we have the platform up, could we take a quick tour of the Robonet platform?
Yeah, sure. Let me bring it back up. So if you wanted to do a new chat, you would talk to it just like you would ChatGPT or Claude. You really have, I'd say, 4 or 5 main tools at your disposal. So you can generate strategy ideas if you don't really know where to start and you don't have a hypothesis ready to go. You can have it generate those ideas. Then you can create a strategy if you already have that idea. And then once you create that strategy, you would want to back test it. And then once you back test it, you have 2 options. You have refine, which basically it will do exactly what you tell it to do. And then the other is optimize. Optimize will basically run a Monte Carlo simulation on all the variables in your current strategy to say, okay, if you're using 2% for your position size, we're going to test 2.2, 2.4, 2.6, 1.8, 1.6, 1.4. And it'll basically look for that Goldilocks zone of what's going to perform the best. So those are the things really at your disposal. It'll also suggest ideas for you along the way of things that the AI and it uses Opus 4.7 on the back end as part of the engine. That's tied with years and years worth of backtesting data that you can pull in. We've also custom built 200 plus technical indicators. So basically anything you can find on TradingView, you can use within Robonet. And then also our strategy execution engine that will actually execute these strategies in real time on your preferred venue. But if anyone's used Opus 4.6 or 4.7, you know just how powerful that is. So it will help, it'll do a really good job of leading the horse to water and giving you some really good ideas to fine tune your strategy. So I'd say those are the main tools that you'd want to use. But you also have different dashboards for showing, okay, here's all the strategies that I've created over time. As you can see, I've created a lot of different strategies and you can see their performance. Not all of them are winners, but
Could you always do the inverse of
that,
the losers?
you know what? I have tried that. If something performs particularly bad,
Yeah.
I will say, all right, instead of buying during these conditions, sell during those conditions and flip it. And it actually has worked. I wouldn't say it works every time, but that was one of the first things that popped in my mind of, hey, if something does particularly bad, what if I just did
Yeah.
the exact opposite of that? Would that perform well? You'd be surprised. I'd say like 70% of the time it actually works out. So finding success and failures is a great quality.
70% of
then
the
you can
time, it
also
works every time.
exactly. You can also see all these different strategies that you've deployed. So yeah, you have the ability to monitor the strategies that you've deployed and go there to stop the strategy, see its performance, etc. Run an additional back test, refine the strategy. You can even view the strategy code. So pretty powerful tools at your disposal once you're inside the dashboard.
Yeah, pretty awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, just so users can get a preview of like the different tools and things they could do. But on the more simplified version, uh, there's a vault on Paradex that hopefully we can rename soon.
Absolutely. And if anyone wants to submit a name, if you're a winner, I will personally give you $20 worth of Robonet credits. So let's just make that a competition.
Wait, it's a naming competition? Are you choosing the name or is the community picking the name?
I reserve the right to pick the name myself if
That's
I
a
come
good
up with
move.
something
That's
better.
that's a
But
safe name.
if somebody comes up with something better than I can think of, I will give them $20 worth of Robonet credits.
Yeah, that's better because you don't want to be stuck with like a terrible name.
Yeah, what was it that they let people name some tugboat in England about a decade ago, and now there's Boaty McBoatface. That's the
Yeah,
tugboat.
yeah, which isn't terrible, but it's memorable. Yeah.
Yeah, but I reserve the right to pick my own. But if you can think of something better than what I can think of, you get a prize.
Yeah, be sure to tag Mike on X. His username is here in the panel on the lower left. So yeah, that's really great. I'm looking forward to when more strategies can be deployed directly to user vaults on Paradex. I'll be curating my own vault in the future. Is there anything else people can look forward to from the Robonet team or from yourself?
I would say on the lower side, we're going to be launching topics for volatility and additional assets very soon. On the Robonet side, we're going to be expanding to additional venues as well. We're also going to be coming out with an ability to do a lot more things on prediction markets, making the tool more robust and enhanced functionality as well with just creating strategies, back testing. We're going to have the ability to integrate a chart from TradingView, so you'll have a lot more detail in terms of seeing where your strategy was actually trading, how it traded in relation to these indicators, make it easier to refine and optimize your strategies. So the team's working around the clock. We have a whiteboard of 100 plus ideas that we are planning to implement. So there's no shortage of things that we're working on, and the team's working tirelessly around the clock to make sure that we have an experience that not just surprises but delights the user base. So definitely stay tuned. It's not a product that's going to be stagnant. We're trying to push updates probably about twice a week. So what you log on and see Monday, there's going to be some sort of upgrade that's probably going to enhance the platform if you go on Friday. So every single week there's going to be new updates, new features. So definitely keep checking it out. Definitely test it out. We'd love to get everyone's feedback, and hopefully it's a tool that they enjoy using and can use it successfully.
Awesome. Yeah, I am looking forward to all of that. Potentially prediction market vaults. That would just be a lot easier than having to track and follow everything. So yeah, I am looking forward to everything you guys are building. And if you want to learn more, follow Robonet HQ or Mike at Michael ZSKI on X. Thank you for your time, and we'll catch everyone next time. Bye.
Thank you so much.